anyway. So welcome everybody and thank you for coming to today's Free Friday. And we're talking about Microsoft Word, tips and tricks and designing things in it and making stuff line up. I personally am on a little bit of a rampage to make this course mandatory for anybody that uses a computer, because I have seen people using that space bar to push things over and to put multiple tabs. And I bet you that's why some of you are here today. Maybe in the chat, let me know why you're here today. And it might be fun to know where everybody is from as well. I am from Edmonton, and that's in Alberta, Canada. I know we have some folks from out of country here. And sure, okay. So we've got lots to cover today. What I've got planned for today is to talk about some what we call non-printable characters in Word. This is like reveal codes in WordPerfect, except it is really going to help you out knowing why things are placed on the page where they are, and more importantly, how you can make them appear where you want them to be. So there are some defaults, right? You hit your tab key, it takes you over a certain amount of space, and we can control that. So you don't have to hit tab a whole bunch of times if you're trying to push it over all the way. So we can see the other things there. As we get going here, there's probably going to be some other things that come up. Okay, have a pen and paper or your OneNote ready to make some notes. I like to throw out keystrokes. That will really help you out. And at the end, you can try all those keystrokes and see if you remember what they're all for. Put a little star beside the really, really good ones. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So again, you can open up I almost said spreadsheet because I do so much Microsoft Word stuff, Microsoft Excel stuff. That's next week, by the way, little plug for next week's session. I also wanted to introduce to you, some of you know her already, Connie. I'm gonna make you turn here. I hope she's there. Connie is a colleague of mine, and she is helping me out today with moderating questions and throwing. There's somebody new came in, so I'm sure she'll put the Word document that we're working with within the chat. And Connie is a Microsoft Teams expert. We did a session on Teams. Was it last week or is it OneNote we did last week, Connie? I think it was OneNote. So the
OneNote last week, Teams week before.
Yeah. So we've kind of been doing this kind of thing together, and we, there is a method to our madness here. We want to be able to do some custom training for you folks. Some of you are learning on your own, and that's fine. That's great. We have recorded stuff on our websites that you might want to take advantage of, and other people are here on behalf of a company. So can you imagine right now if all of the people that are on the call are all your teammates that you work with? And we like we're also on a little bit of a rampage to bring the live training back. There's so many people will go, oh, I can learn that on YouTube. Oh, I can learn that on LinkedIn Learning. Well, I maybe we're old school, but we like a combination. We like it to be live training like this so that there's questions as well as having the recorded stuff available to you. So we'll talk a little bit more about that afterwards. So yeah, so if you want to open up the file, if you don't have it in front of you, then you can see it. Thank you, Connie. She put a link to our events on there, and we're always adding to them. Like I said, I don't know how much longer we're going to offer the free Fridays, but anyway, so the assessment here, the Word assessment, this is a file that I use to find out if people are kind of ready, like if they know Word or not. And how many of you would think that you know Word pretty good? Some of you might think, well, there might be some things that I don't know. So I'll take it's an hour, it's free, whatever. Okay. These are the things that in this one, if I scroll right to the bottom of this, and you are seeing, Zoom has this new great thing where you can actually go up and double check what you're sharing. Yay. So on page 3 of this thing, actually, I think, yeah, it is on page 3, is a screen print of what this document is supposed to look like. Okay, so does it look like that? Well, it looks like these are check marks and they're pushed over here, the little bullet points. It looks like these dates and times, they are nice and spaced out. We'll play with that. I love this at the bottom. Does anybody know what this is called? Where it's language arts and then it just wraps over here. That's called a hanging indent. Okay, we're going to do a bunch of things like that. So that's what it's going to look like when we're done with it. We're going to scroll back up to the very, very top, and it just talks about, these are just some instructions that I have when people are wanting to sign up for courses and they're like, I don't know, do I need level 1 or level 2 or whatever? But so I make them do this, and then they kind of just decide, well, where am I at? I had a really hard time with it. Somebody said you're kind of new to this. Then you would take a 6-hour course or blah, blah, blah. I'm not here to sell those courses, although we would totally do that. So from right where it says here, move the text to the next page without pressing enter multiple times. Let me know how many of you would be tempted to hit enter. How many times do you think? I have one person say that they have this little game with themselves that if they wanted hair conference confirmation to show up at the top of the next page, they guess at how many enters. How many of you guys would do that? Come on, I know that there's some, and they're, oh, hey, Robin, you made it, yay. Enter, enter, enter. How many of you would do that? And what's the problem with that? Is there a problem with that? It worked. It didn't really take that much time. Any of you do that? John, thank you, John, for your honesty. What's the problem with that now, John? When you go, it looks really good, but what's the problem? Is that if something happened on the page above it, like maybe I went in here and I made my title really, really huge or something like that. What's the problem now on that next page? Uh-oh. Those enters are still in there. They're kind of hidden, aren't they? And they're pushing everything down. So we need to go in there and sort of get rid of our enters in order to work with it properly. So 2 things I want you to write down for today, at least, and maybe you've done these already, I'm not sure. We are going to be working with our ruler up at the top. So if you could please go into view and then make sure your ruler is turned on. If there's already a check mark there, don't worry about it. Just go away. I'm going to click on ruler. We are going to be working with our ruler today. So Microsoft doesn't like to show you the ruler as a default. So when it's installed, you don't get to see it. So I don't know why they wouldn't just give that to you, but anyway, that's the first thing. Now, if it gave you a ruler and it's in inches and you like the inches, fine, you're done. If it's in centimeters, some of us Canadians will have it defaulted to centimeters. I won't go into this command, but file options and down to advanced, scroll down there and you can find it says centimeters or inches. I guess I did just go into there. So centimeters and inches. I'm not sure that you would pick any of those other ones, but that was under file and then options. And then over here where it says advanced, it says inches on mine. That's the way that I like it. And yeah, okay. So good. So I've got my ruler on and I've got it on inches. That's how I like to have it. Now, the other thing that I want you to look at is the spacing in this document. And I'm talking about left to right spacing, and I'm talking about top to bottom spacing. Can I tell here why there's an extra space in between these 2 paragraphs? Did somebody press enter once or twice or what? Okay, there's going to be some codes that come on that are going to help us. So go to your home tab, and if you've just joined, welcome. And Connie is putting a copy of this document that you're looking at into the chat if you want to play along. We will be sending a copy of the recording to you as well. So if you want to just stop and watch and make notes and ask questions, you can. Or you can try these things along with me. But I do have a lot to cover, so I don't really sort of wait for you to do it. In our training sessions, we wait. Now you guys all try it. Do, 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 do. But in this one today, it's kind of a tips and tricks. We're just going to blah. Okay, on your home tab, there is a button that kind of looks like a backwards P. How many of you have used that button before? And it's just kind of a one click to turn it on. How many of you use that? If any of you have been in my classes, then you probably have. Stephanie. Yes, Stephanie, she happens to have the same last name as me. So I wonder why she has used this little guy. Okay. So what it is it tells you what is going on in your document. These spaces show up as dots, right? Every time I press the space bar, it shows up as a dot. One space bar is fine. These guys show up as enters. How many of you are new to this button? These codes, okay? Do you see any other ones? Oh, isn't this interesting at the bottom of page 1? Do you remember when I went in and I pressed enter all those times? They're still sitting there. It's almost like you've put them in and you're going to have to remove them if you don't want it there anymore, which is exactly what I'm going to do. Okay, I'm going to do all, maybe all but one. Sometimes I like to leave just one in there. And I'm going to give you your first wonderful keystroke of the session. Does anybody know it? How can I move this this text to page 2? Anybody know this one? There's a couple ways. Please don't say enter, enter, enter. We've already been through that. It doesn't work. It might work for the moment, but not forever. There is a command under insert. It's actually in a couple of places. It is insert page break. I want to give you a keystroke because you might remember it a little bit better. Casey, yes, insert a page break. Do you know the keystroke? 2 hands right in front. Make sure you don't have anything selected. Right in front, control enter, control enter. And when you see that, then you know, because you have these thingy things turned on, that, oh, that's how that got there, right? Because you might be thinking, you know, maybe let's make this a little bit smaller again. That was a little big, wasn't it? Blah, blah, blah. Hey, how come there's all this blank space at the bottom of my page? How come this stuff doesn't go up there? Oh, because somebody put a page break in. Maybe that was a good thing. Maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe you're like, this thing doesn't fit on one page. I want it. Why is it going over to the second page? How many of you have done that? Right? So what you can also do if you change your mind is you can go, I usually just go in front of the page break and press delete. Looks like I have an extra enter there. I can hit it again and I can delete it. So easy to put in, control enter, easy to get out. How many of you just learned something? Control enter. I'm going to keep it in there because I think it makes sense to have something at the top. I think it makes sense to have this at the top of the page. Yes? Good? Cool stuff? Inserting the page break. Okay. All right. So other things that we've seen here, and I'm just going to zoom in a little bit, control wheel to zoom that in. And it says here, set a right aligned tab for the following line. What are they talking about? ABC School, June 2007. Let's go look at the completed version of that. ABC School, whoa, June 2007 is way the heck over there. How did it get there? So kind of similar to what we were just talking about. How many of you would get in there and you'd hit the tab key a whole bunch of times? It's the same kind of bad habit as hitting enter all those times. Why? Because maybe after a while you go ABC, oh, let's say ABC Elementary School. I'm not going to continue. You can see what's happening with it. It wraps funny. And I can see that these are tabs. If you don't even have that thingy thing turned on, then you can't even really tell what's going on with this. Like, ugh, how do I get that 2007 back up there? And you can cut and paste many times. It's not going to work. It's just like all those extra enters. You need to get rid of all of them if you've got them in there. Select, delete. You want to keep one in there. And I'm going to get rid of that because I'm going to add it back later. And here's where we use the whatchamacallit thingy, the ruler. We need the ruler. So let's learn a little bit first about why does it even work that way? Like why is it even like that? Like what happens when I just hit the tab key? Okay, I want us to look at that ruler. Remember I put it in inches. So if I were to draw a line right now from where that tab ends, right? Can you see my little blue here? It lines up at the 1 inch mark. Okay, just remember that. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to go after that tab, I'm going to hit enter one more time. Look where it's going now. Oh, it's going in the 1.5 inch mark. Do it one more time. It's going at the 2 inch mark, 2.5, 3.5, and so on. So we don't want that. We want to put our own in there. We want to put our own tabs in there. So way over on the left-hand side of the screen, there is an L. Okay, can you guys see that? Way over on the left-hand side. Okay, there's an L there. Yours, there's a chance it's not an L because maybe you've been using this. If you've been using this already, then it might be whatever tab you just finished doing. Okay, so maybe not. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select first, not really just the tab or whatever. I'm going to select the line that I want to put the tab in. And I'm not even going to click on that L. I'm just going to kind of rest my mouse and it's telling me, yo, Joanne, you have a left tab selector selected. So if I don't even hit anything, it's not going to change, and that's fine because all I do is I go over on the ruler, and in this case, I'm going to kind of guess where the tab should be, where it should start. Where do I want that J in June? Well, look at where my mouse is, right under that 4. I click on it and it says, you want me over here? Fine, I'll be over here. Isn't that amazing? So that would have taken me about, I don't know, 4 or 5 tabs to get over there. And once it's over there, I can move it if I decide to move it. Maybe I want it over a little bit more. Oh, this looks good. Oh, you know, I think I can even move it over a little bit more. So I'm going to move it over. If you happen to do it and you hit tab and you don't click right on it, you'll end up with an extra tab. And this always happens. I'm so klutzy. I'm like, I miss it. You can just click on the tab, see on the ruler, and drag it straight down. That's kind of how you can get rid of it. I mean, undo might work too, but maybe it's too late for undo. So I'm like, this is really cool. I really like that. I only had to hit tab once. And if I go over here to ABC school and I go elementary school, oh, I spelled it wrong again, then it doesn't move this. It doesn't move it around, where if you had put tabs or spaces, then it would. So that works good. Who's liking the left tab? Pretty good. Here's one thing that I like left tabs sometimes, but in this case, I'm going to show you something that happens. Let's say that June, it's not June anymore. Maybe we're doing this in October. So this was like the year end one, and now we're doing October. So I'm going to change June to October, and I love double clicking on the word to select it and then just typing. So watch what happens when I go October. Uh-oh. Joanne, you said this would work great. Well, it kind of does, but I don't know that that was the best tab to put in there. That tab is a left tab, so it's always saying where to start. So the J in June, that's where it started and it fit great. Oh, for October, it doesn't really work that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the paragraph and I'm going to get rid of that tab. How do we do that? We just go up to it and drag it straight down and it goes way over again. This time it's going to the 2-inch mark. It's like, no, don't want that. And then way back over here on the left-hand side, we have our left tab. We click on it once. Now that gives us a center tab. Now center tab is okay sometimes. It's not what I want here, but I'm going to put it at the 5-inch mark just to show you how it works. And then I'll hold it down again. Can you see what's happening with it? It's giving a center point. So this might be really good for like a heading, and I'm gonna go for go, I'll show you here. Do you think we might have done that here with room number? I centered room number above my numbers. Okay, so that's when I would use a center tab. So I don't want it here. It's better though than it was. I'm going to get rid of it. And what I really wanted here was a right tab. So I click on it one more time and it says right tab. You can click on it a few more times and you'll get some other ones. And I'm going to go with my right tab way the heck over to the right hand side. And that way, what it's doing is it's saying, this is where to end. So if I go in front of October and I say Friday, October, I don't know, 27th, 2000, and you know what? I should update this document. That's how long Connie and I have been teaching computers since we were like 4 years old. Hey, Connie, 100 years. So these documents are always old. And anyway, so that says doesn't matter what you type. It's always going to, it's like it's never going to move. You're telling it where to end. Okay. And so that's what I would like there. It's not always the one that you want. Sometimes it's left tab, sometimes it's center, sometimes it's right, and sometimes it's decimal. I'll show you how you use decimal in a minute. So that's the fourth one. And if you're clicking and you're, you know, well, what the heck, just keep clicking until you get that L again. And then it's like left, center. It kind of cycles you through them. Okay. Any questions there? Anybody learn anything yet? Maybe. Hey, Barb, how are you? Okay, so we're going to set tabs for the following 2 paragraphs. So 2 paragraphs. I don't know what I mean by that. This one, this line, and then these lines. I guess it means 2 sets. So let's cheat and look at what we want here. So date, start time, end time, and room number. We want 1 set of tabs for that. And then the dates, how are they lined up? Look at the start times. Are they left, center, or right? I think they're left because the 4 and the 4 and the 1 line up. If it were a right tab, all of the M's would line up. Okay, so same with end time. Those ones look like they're left aligned. And then what about these room numbers? They're either right aligned or they are decimal aligned. Okay, I can't tell by looking at this. We're going to talk about decimal because when there's numbers, they should be decimal aligned. And we'll also take a look at that too with our times because that's kind of a cool thing. So we'll go back up here. Does anybody need the document? I'm not sure, kind of lost track. I'm going to select, so here's your steps. Select the paragraph. So again, you're not in there selecting the actual tab. Oh, this one I want at 1 inch and this one I want it at 2 inches. No, you're not doing that. You're selecting that whole line, right? And I'm doing it in 2 separate ones because our heading line is a different setting than these guys, just because of this one. This one was that center tab, and these guys, they are a decimal tab. So if I didn't care, I could just do it all in one, but I do care. So I'm going to select this line, and I always do it way over on the left-hand side. So date, it doesn't need anything. So I kind of work from left to right. Start time. Where do I want start time? So in the end, I want the S in start to line up with the 4. So it needs to be shoved way over, doesn't it? So what do? I decide what kind of tab I want. Probably a left tab. Left because I think the S and the 4 and the 1, they all kind of lined up. I already have it. If you don't, you can click to get it. Maybe the 1.5 inch. Boom. Okay, that looks good, right? That's pulled it out. Now end time, where do I want that? Maybe 3 inches. And it's also a left tab, so I don't have to worry about that. Boom. It's kind of like, hey, you come here and stand there. Now you come here and stand over there. It's like kindergarten class. Now room number, that was that center one because it's got all the stuff underneath it. So I'm going to go here and grab my center tab, and then I kind of have to eyeball it, maybe 5-inch mark. And that might help me put my decimal tab at that same 5-inch mark. And I like to kind of go like I was almost like at 1.5 and 3 and 5, like as opposed to these random little tick marks. It just helps me out a little bit to remember, well, what did I do it up at the top for? Okay, so now those are done. Now these three, I'm going to do the same thing. Some of the commands will be the same and some of them won't. So I'm going to select the three of them. Now, June doesn't need it. My times, yes, they do need it. So let's play with that a little bit. I'm going to go back to the left because I think that's what it was. So there's my left. And I'm going to try to remember what it was with start time. I think it was 1.5. Oh, I didn't let go yet, so I can still move it. There you go. Just right above, right in front of that 1.5 mark. And that's nice and lined up. So start time, the S and the 4 and the 10. If you had decided that you wanted it to be right tab, okay, go to your right tab, and then you'd probably be lining it up with start time. Oops, I let go. I let go. When I went off of it, my mouse kind of went up, so I thought I was getting rid of it. So what do you like better? Okay, I'm going to give you an idea here. Oh, maybe I'll do that after the other decimal tab one. Okay, so I'm going to select it, and I'm going to go back to the left tab, just because then the next one will also be a left tab. So that should be about the same as start time, which is there. And I'm going to do end time at the same time. It's going to pull this 4:30 and the 5 o'clock and the 10:30 over to about because I already have the left tab selected. Boom. And now my room number. So I'm going to go grab my decimal tab. And if you're like, oh, how am I ever going to figure out which ones these are? Way over on the left-hand side, you can just rest your mouse for a second. It says right tabs. No, it's not decimal yet. You can kind of move your mouse away and oh, decimal, that's the one she's talking about. And then put your decimal tab around this 5-inch mark. That was the center point for the other one. Does it look like a right tab? Yeah, it does. What's the difference? Well, if I went 4.5, you can see that it's lining up on the decimal, even though I don't have a decimal place in those other two numbers. So if these were actual, amounts or something like that, then they'd be nice and lined up. I'd probably go here and I'd go like that. If I was doing too much of that, I would go into Excel. But for here, it's good. So that's one good thing about the decimal tab. Okay. If it's a number, use a decimal tab. I'm going to show you the other use for a decimal tab. And I want you to look at these start times and end times. So I want you to look at the colon. 4:00, 4:30, 10. Okay, these two colons kind of line up, the 4 and the 4:30, but the 10 a.m. doesn't. Guess what decimal tab does, you guys? I'm going to get rid of that one. It goes a little bit crazy for a minute because now it's going to my 3-inch tab. Don't worry about it. And I have decimal tab already. And I'm going to go in, and sometimes I'm not really sure where to put this one, but look what it's doing, you guys. It is lining the colon up. So it's not left aligned and it's not right aligned, or it is decimal aligned, but it takes the colon as the decimal. Weird, hey? But that's what it does. Is it centered? Yeah, kind of. Not really though. There's way more room here on the 1 than the M's. It is decimal aligned. So let's do that on this one. So the end times, you can see that the colons are kind of out of whack. Let's get rid of the left tab. How many of you are going to be using this one now for the rest of your lives? Anybody like that one? Please tell me that you like that one if that was really good for you. If you didn't know how to use tabs, you'd be hitting space bar a lot of times. And then the room number we can leave there. Okay, good. Now, if I was doing too much of this, I might do a spreadsheet. If I was in the middle of a Word document like that, I might not use a spreadsheet. I might use a table. I'm just going to hit enter a couple times here, and I want to show you. You know what? Yeah, I'm going to put a table in, really quick little table, and let's just say that we're trying to do the same thing. We're putting the date in, and then 4:00 p.m. and you're like, oh, I really liked that idea before that she had about, lining that up, right? Like it's the same, like, how can I do that in here? I mean, and when you hit tab, it doesn't work like that in a table. You know what? You can use decimal tab, and there doesn't even have to be a tab character in there. So remember, our tab character is this line, right? This arrow. I don't see any of them in here, but watch this. I'm going to select these two things, and I have a bunch of different little ruler things. I have 3 ruler settings because I have 3 columns. Guess what I'm going to do? Decimal tab. I'm going to tell it where to go. Look at that. So it recognizes the decimal tab inside a table. What have I done? I've kind of centered it, but I've centered it with, I don't like to use that word because I didn't hit the center button. I placed it in the center of the column. I kind of had to eyeball it. And it doesn't work that well if you've done the centering, our traditional center. It doesn't really work that well, right? So left align it and then drag the decimal over. I'm going to do it again on this one. I'll do it, right? It's the same idea. It's not going to put it on the colon. It'll put it on the decimal. There, look at that. Where do I want it? Over here, over there. Where do I want it? If you used your right align, it would snuggle it way over on the right-hand side. So that's how you can use a decimal tab inside of a table. Any questions with that one? I hope you can use that one. And like I said, if I had to do too much of this, I probably would do a table. And sometimes people are like, well, yeah, tables are easy to work with. Yes, because if you go to the end, look at how easy this is. You just hit your tab key and it creates another line for you. Yay. Okay. But people are like, oh, and it also copied over that setting. Some people are like, well, I don't like the lines. Okay. Click here. And then you've got your borders button up top here. You can just go in and say no border. So now I'm taking the advantages of using a table. But it's nicer. You don't have to worry so much about resetting your tabs and things like that. You can insert a column and that it's a little bit easier to work with. And then you've got these extra ones up top here. You've got table design and layout. And what I usually do is I go into the layout one up here. There's 2 layout buttons, layout over here, and I go view grid lines. So when you go view grid lines, they are not going to print. Borders print, grid lines just show you where one cell is. And then if you're new to these thingies, that's just telling us that that's the end of the cell. So if I'm like, well, where am I going to be when I type 11 o'clock? Oh, okay, that's where I'm going to be. Okay, good. Thank you. Right. Okay. Any questions about tabs? I hope you use them. I hope you use them. And if you open up a document where whoever typed it, whether it was you or somebody else, and there's a whole bunch of tabs, then clean it up, get rid of all of them except one. And then you can select it, pick the type of tab, plunk, 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 and you're good to go. Okay. Okay, so got a little bit more here. Apply bullets and indent the following list. Okay, so what do we want it to look like? During your conference, you will blah, 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 blah. Nice. Okay, so I'm going to select those guys and I'm going to put the bullets on. Now, right now, they're nice and flush left. Okay, actually, let's play with it a little bit first without doing the bullets. They're flush left. And we're going to use this guy right here. Can you see that well? This guy right here. And this guy way over here. Okay. The one on the right-hand side is your indent, right indent. And the one on the left-hand side, of course, is your left indent. Okay. So what you want to do there is you want to select your stuff and you can move those. And they're very picky. Anybody ever tried to move them? They're really picky. If I go left indent, it'll move over. Yay, it moves over. Okay. That whole thing is moving. If you move different parts, then different things will move. And I know I only have this isn't a really good one to do it on because I only have one line per paragraph. So it's like what's moving, but you just wait until we make those into bullets. There's also a button up here. It's called increase indent. That's a little bit easier. That moves the whole thing over. Okay. We'll play with that again after we put the bullets on. So I'm going to select it. I'm just going to hit bullets. It puts it on. What else did that do? Is it still aligned to the left? No. Look at my ruler, my indent marker. It's moved. If I indent, if I use that increase indent button, it moves the whole thing over. Like I was saying, these things are still, what's that word? Proportionate? They're still about about a quarter of an inch apart, aren't they? This is the half-inch mark. So now it makes a difference if I drag one of them. This guy here is moving where the first line starts. Now the first line is actually the bullet in this case. Okay, I'm going to hit undo there. There, it put it back. So how can I easily drag those bullets over? Because you can't just click on them and drag them. How can I easily make those bullets go over to the left? And before you can answer that question, you want to know, well, do I like the distance between the bullet and the first piece of text there, the T, the bullet and the T? Do I like that? I love that. It's perfect. It's nice. So then I can use the decrease indent button. Done. So it moved the whole thing, like it moved both of them. Okay. So we get to know, and we'll see this more when we get down here where it says language arts and stuff. We get to know, well, if I drag this top one, I'm only dragging the bullet, right? I'm only dragging the bullet. If I drag this one, it's a little bit harder to find, but it's kind of the top of the bottom part, if that makes sense. Rest your mouse on it and see that it says hanging indent. That only moves the rest of it. It's not moving the bullet, is it? How many of you have struggled with this? You're like, why is it doing that? Right? Why are they both moving? I just want to move that over. Well, if you grab the bottom of it, both of them will move. So try to think about the bottom piece moves all the lines, like not first paragraph, like I'll talk about that more when we have more than one line in a paragraph. This one over here, first line, that's it. First line indent. This guy here moves everything else. So that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. And then sometimes what happens with that is when you go to change your bullet, it does it again, right? So you get your, if you use bullets, you're going to be able to practice using this because it messes it up all the time, right? Going to give you a keystroke there. Control T moves the hanging indent part over half an inch. See, just the check mark is staying, but the rest of it is moving. Control Shift T backs it up. If you could keep doing it, then it's like I'm not even a hanging indent anymore, but I don't know where to go. So I'll just go over here to that half-inch mark. So Control T moves the hanging indent marker over. And it does it by half an inch. So you might be saying, oh, that's just too much. Okay, then go and grab it by the top of the bottom of it there, the hanging indent. There, that looks good. All right, we'll come back to the 1.5 inch spacing. So question about that one. Thank you, Connie, for putting that in the chat. You guys might want to have your chat window open there because might be good. Okay, set a hanging indent for the following paragraphs. Language arts, blah, 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 blah. Notice there's a tab in there. So it was kind of like there was a tab up here, but we didn't hit tab. We did check, it came in there with the bullets. So I'm going to go language arts and math and other. Okay, I'm going to grab all three of those paragraphs and I'll show you what it's supposed to look like. This is what it's supposed to look like. Language arts, blah, 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 math, blah, 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 other, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so this is almost the opposite. Is it the opposite? Well, it's the same idea as these bullets, where do I want the first line to go? So L for language arts, M for math, O for other. I don't want it to go anywhere. So I'm going to just leave the first line indent and I'm going to go in and I'm going to grab the hanging indent. Do you see where my thing is there? It's kind of on the middle. It's kind of the top of the bottom, if that makes sense. Right now, it looks more like the middle. I'm going to drag that over. Come here, you guys. Come here. Come on. Let's go. Wow. That's how easy that was. And how could it even been easier? I'm going to Control Z. What does that do? Undo. How could it even be easier? Control T, Control T, Control T. Wow. How many of you have tried that in the past to get that effect? I'm going to Control Z that. And this is what I've seen a lot of documents. I'll do it with this one down at the bottom, this other. Well, first of all, I want to push that over a little bit. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah. Oh, now I want to move independently over. So I'm going to hit tab. Well, it doesn't really go where I want it to. So they're putting it over there. Okay. So now what do you bring in? You bring in the heavy artillery, right? Good old space bar. And you're looking at it like, ugh, that doesn't look right. Oh, I don't know. It's pretty close, pretty close. That's going to be a horrible. If we go in up here and we get rid of some text, gets along. Ugh, ugh. And you got to go in and you got to put more spaces and it probably won't like that. It doesn't like putting spaces at the end or tabs or like, ugh, ugh. Sometimes it does things to your ruler to try to help. But what you want to just do is you just want to put one tab in. Oh yeah, there's usually an enter that goes along there too. Because if you do press enter, then it does let you do the spaces. Yay, right? No, not yay, right? So you want to get rid of all of that. And you don't want to be pressing enter at all. What did that say? Gets along with others, I think, didn't it? I want it to sort of wrap, right? You just want to make sure that there's one tab only, and that's kind of like where you want that split to go. No enter at the end unless it's a specific end, like this one, math, year one, blah, 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 addition to 5. No, next one I want on the next line. Okay, tab to shove year 2 over. So I'll select it all again. And then Control T, Control T, Control T. And if things change, gets along with all class mates, wow, and teachers, as well as office staff. Wow, it's just going and going, right? So that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool thing. And if these things that are on the screen, you're finding them distracting, so you can turn them off. But I think when you go back to formatting your document, I think you might want to have it back on. Like this just says, how does that look? That actually looks pretty good. You can put it back on. So when we did that second piece here with those hanging indents, you can see a little bit more about what I was meaning with first line. And it just means first line of the paragraph. It doesn't mean only my first paragraph or anything, right? If I wanted to indent that list a little bit, I could drag my first line over. And oh, there's not very much room here. So I would drag the hanging indent, the top of the bottom or the middle piece, hanging indent, and you could drag it over. And it not only drags this, R for recognizes, but it also grabs all of the other lines in the paragraph. So, line 2, line 3, line 4, right? This one, this one, this one, however many. So how important is that ruler? Super important. And the one on the other side, it controls where it wraps. So here it recognizes all letters of the alphabet and has knowledge of letter sounds. Well, how come letter is there? Well, because it wouldn't fit there. So you can actually take it and you can drag it to the left to make it squishier, right? Maybe you want all that white space, or you drag it to the right and say, yeah, I don't care if it wraps way over here. Yeah, don't do that. It'll complain when you try to print that you're outside of the margin. So that one's really easy to work with, that right indent. The left one is a little bit more complex, right? So any questions about that one? Hopefully that helped as well. Okay. I've got one more document that I will put in the chat, and I'd love for you guys to take that one because it talks, my last thing in here talks about custom sessions, and this is called subliminal advertising because we're going to fix up this document and this is my little plan here to maybe for you to think about having us do custom sessions for you. So I put it in the chat. Sorry. Oh, how come that's just went to John, I think. Custom live sessions. There you go. Okay. Everybody should have that. It's called custom live sessions. I want to work with line spacing on this one. And again, you don't have to. You can just watch the line spacing. I don't really like it too much. What's happening here? Well, I've got my thingy thing turned on and I can see that there's no enter there. Why is it like that? You ever get things like that? So here's some line spacing stuff. Like I like this line spacing, right? It's like just normal, right? There's nothing happening really, maybe a little bit of space. So how can I get all of these ones like that? I'm going to select those. I'm going to go to paragraph here and I'm going to click on this guy. And it talks about line spacing before and after. And some of it is blank because it's got different commands in it. So I'm just going to try it with some after spacing. I'm going to try it with 6 points after spacing, and I'm going to go over here and I'm going to make it single spaced. So this is usually the other thing that people struggle with is the spacing. Now this is top to bottom spacing, not left to right spacing. We just spent half an hour on that with our ruler. Notice the ruler's not even here anymore. Ruler. I think you have to turn it on and exit out and then come back in. So if that happens to you. Okay, I kind of like it. Kind of wouldn't mind this all on one page though, if possible. So maybe I'm going to go back into my paragraph setting and I'm going to maybe try making it 0 and 0. Okay, now I don't really have any extra space, do I? But what's happening here is this heading, it looks like it's too close. So I'm going to take that heading, I'm going to go back into paragraph and I'm going to make it before spacing, maybe 6 points before. And I like to make this single just to make it all the same. And it wants to put 8 points. I'm going to go 6. 6 is sort of the, it goes 6, 12, 18. 6 points is like one line. Because see how it has a whole bunch of extra space there. Make it 6 and 6. So it sends it down a little bit. I like that. And it's nice there. So I'm going to go and check out all these guys. Yeah, 0. I wanted those ones 0 and single. And then here's the thing you want to watch for where it says don't add space between paragraphs of the same style. If I just click OK there, it doesn't really do a lot. So I'm going to click there and I'm going to say, hey, you just don't worry if they're the same style or what. We have a class on styles that we can do. And then, well, it looks about the same, but so it's not where we want it. Okay, drag it across. I did a session this week and somebody said the best thing about that session was this paintbrush. So I'm going to click on one of these ones because I want them all to look the same. And I'm going to click on that paintbrush. And I'm going to drag over those guys. And now they just all look the same. So if I want it to apply to the rest of my document, I should be setting up styles, but I don't have time to do styles today. So I'm just going to grab one, and instead of just clicking once on that paintbrush, I'm going to double click on that paintbrush. And it allows me to say, hey, those two, these two, look how they're just changing as soon as I'm selecting them, because I've still got that little paintbrush going on there. And these two. Oh, wow. Look at how close I am getting all that to fit on one page. I have to be careful that I don't click somewhere, because if I do, I really didn't want that to happen. I'm going to undo that. And then you either press escape or you can click on that guy again. Okay, so how can I make it all fit? I'm so close. This one, it looks like it has a little bit of extra spacing on it. Well, I could do the same thing as this one. Double click. I would totally at this point go and create some styles so that all of these are together. Still not doing it. I've done a lot with spacing. What else can I do? Margins. Here's a little trick. I'm going to zoom out with my control wheel. Because I have my ruler turned on, I also have a ruler on the left-hand side. And I can go on the left. Now, do you guys see on the left-hand side where it goes to a white arrow and says top margin? Watch this. I'm going to drag my top margin up a little bit. Look at that. Look what's happening on the right. There was 3 things. Now there's only 2. And I can do the same thing on the left. I'm decreasing my bottom margin right now. So it's looking pretty darn good. Now, why is it still 2 pages? Because there's this extra enter. There will always be an extra enter. Maybe you've used it up. I just hit delete on it and there's 1 page. And if you didn't have those thingy things turned on, you wouldn't know. Have you ever gone and printed your, I don't know why I'm always getting that extra page. Open it up. And I bet you that you've got a page full of at least 1 enter. Let's go in front of it and hit delete. Now it's looking pretty nice. Pretty nice. I like to go into design and I like to go into page borders, and a lot of people don't even realize that this is here. Page border, I can just do a nice little border on that. Oh, wow. That just made it pop. Anybody ever done any other ones in there? There is art. You know, candy canes or Christmas trees or whatever you want. Stars. These guys are all stars. Put it around the whole thing. There you go. So this one, it's interfering a little bit with my bottom margin. So I'm going to have to drag that up a bit. Yeah, I'm going to have to do a little bit extra on this one. Maybe cut some of that spacing down. But that's what's nice about the spacing, as opposed to pressing enter more than 1 time, is you can go, I think let's try 3 and 3. So that's like a half a space. So that shoves it up a little bit. And now I can use that there. Well, I'm going to keep going on it because I want it consistent. If those were styles, I would have just have to do 1 by now. There we go. Okay. So I think that's all I was going to show you. But I do want you to know that our purpose here is to try to get you to talk to your people about maybe having some of these sessions. Maybe what about once a month, right? Having one of these sessions. I currently do one once a month. It's on the first Thursday of the month and it's $10 per session. It's like super cheap and you can find out about that. It's called Monthly Lunch Bites and it's on my website, courses.knowitsooner.com. And I'm going to hit shift enter. If I hit enter there, it gives it a whole new one. So I'm going to undo that and I'm going to go shift enter and you can see what it does here. It just says move that down 1. I don't want a new bullet or anything. Isn't that cool? Yay. Like that one. Yeah. So everyone's always watching recorded sessions. We will be doing these free Fridays for a little while, but you don't really get any what do you say, choice. You know, it's just up to us. Monthly lunch bites, it's this type of format, lots more time for questions, and it's $10 a piece. It's first Thursday of the month. Go ahead and do that one. Or for these prices, and we're going to give a discount if you book within the next 7 days. Wouldn't it be great to, let's say next year, be able to have these nice little lunch and learns for your staff, right? So you can have up to 100 people per session, right? That's what our Zoom looks at, and it's like $5 a person. You do that on your end. You just pay us, and you can put as many people as you want in there. If you buy 10 of them, maybe you do it for the whole year, maybe minus the summer, and there's the cost, and you even get 20% off if you book right away. So we're really trying to get the live training back in motion. So hopefully that appeals to you. You can see that some of the topics that we have here, and within these topics, we can customize it even more. So maybe you're a law firm and you want to know a lot more about this list stuff, right? Like one and the A and that. Well, we can have a whole session on that. Maybe you're in Excel and you're having to summarize a whole bunch of data. So we'll go over pivot tables or something like that. What about, there's a new version of Outlook coming out, right? Connie does wonderful OneNote and Teams. She's doing a Teams one after this, actually. I know, Connie, if you want to put that in there or not. OneNote was last week, right? We get to work together to do these our outline. We had a law firm come in and say, well, we want to talk about signatures in using Adobe to get signatures, right? Send it to this person for approvals and that kind of thing. All right. So please let us know if we can help with that. Maybe it's budget season. You can put that in your budget, or just get us out for one. And also with this little program here, you get to keep the recording for a year. And it's, so if you're thinking, well, you know, how can I ever get all of my people together at one time? Well, try to go with, you know, I don't know, 80 or 90% of it. Lunchtime's good, staff meetings, after work, whatever. I might even do a breakfast meeting, depending on your time zone. And all of them will be recorded, and everyone will have access to the recording for a while. So that might be a good way to inject some good training. I see some tips here, or some comments. I learned a lot. Thank you. Imagine learning really cool things once a month. So I hope to hear from you guys. Barb, what are you saying? Barb is bragging about the sessions. Barb is one of my I don't want to say oldest clients, because then that's an age thing, but oh, Stephanie, you're on the call too, because I was actually pregnant with Stephanie when I did my first training with Barb. So Stephanie, how old are you? You know, tell everyone how old you are.
I'm 25.
Don't see her anymore. I think she said 25. There she is. Yeah, so she's 25. So Barb and I go back 25 years, 25 plus, because I was very pregnant. I think I made Barb nervous. Thank you, Barb, for recommending. Anybody else have any questions? Connie has put her Teams tricks and tips and tricks. Join her website and go and find her YouTube. Oh my goodness, don't tell her, but I watch her YouTube all the time and I learn stuff. Anybody have any questions or anything? And we'll be sending a link out later today, probably. I have a meeting at 2, and it'll have the recording in it. So please, share it with your network, the sessions, and let us know if we can be some more help. Yes, Mission Computers on YouTube. Yes. Okay, I think I'm going to stop the recording. So if any of you are still on and you have any questions,